It's no secret that my favorite YouTube web series is Death Battle. I've watched it ever since I was about 8 years old, and have been watching it consistently after recovering from my Ben 10 vs Green Lantern salt. In fact, my most popular videos are usually Death Battle related, so I've gotta hand my thanks to all of them. Despite running for more than a decade, having hundreds of episodes, and so many characters introduced, Death Battle is missing out on many other series yet to be introduced to their show. Some of them include Kamen Rider, Toho, Freedom Planet, Gurren Lagann, but as the title would say, I'm not here for those series. I'm going to talk about one of the most important series for my childhood, that being Animal Kaiser. Animal Kaiser is an almost decade-old Japanese arcade game made by Akihiro Arai and owned by Bandai Namco. I have an entire video dedicated to covering its history, which will be in the description. Please do check it out. But anyway, as said before, being the game that basically shaped my childhood, heck, my entire fictional world as a whole, I would love to see Animal Kaiser be introduced to Death Battle someday. Hopefully before I die at least. Animal Kaiser has an absolutely insane roster of characters to pull from, so any of them being introduced would be a massively hype moment from me. But, however, as Animal Kaiser pretty much lacks lore and especially matchups, I decided to pump up my already limited brain juice to come up with matchups for every single animal in Animal Kaiser. These will not really be connection-wise, with the exception for some, as Animal Kaiser animals barely have any lore, so they usually be aesthetic-based or just some form of relation to their opponent. Now, by every animal, I ironically do not mean legitimately every single animal. I only mean for actual original characters in the game. So don't expect actual animals like lions, sharks, or matamatas. We have Enfram animals and other animal versus dogs for that shit. And unfortunately, not every original animal characters will make the list, as some of them I legitimately know nothing about, or lack so much bloody lore I couldn't even think of anything for them. Usually these characters will either be excluded from the list entirely, or clumped up into a group should they be in one. Examples would be Mr. Footballfish, Kurogane, the Harada brothers, the entirety of Hippochio's protection squad, or the Mad Mecha army. Also, no humans. We will not include any humans from the comics on this list. Sadly, that includes the Animal Man. Now, this list will be split up into several sections depending on the versions of Animal Kaiser. There will be the original Animal Kaiser, Great Animal Kaiser, Strong Animal Kaiser, and finally, Strong Animal Kaiser Maximum. So if you're looking for your preferred character here, these sections being separated into YouTube chapters will certainly help you out. No guarantee though, because YouTube keeps effing up even with the fucking YouTube chapters, so just head to the description or something if that doesn't work. And lastly, 3 side notes to keep in mind. Firstly, I like knowledge on a lot of characters in general, some that could potentially be more thematic or better animation-wise for the chosen fighter's opponents. Not to mention a lot of these MUs have just absolutely bare-bones connections or just ones that barely make any sense at all. So if you want to drop your knowledge there or suggest far better matchups, be sure to tell me down below in the comment section. Secondly, for some characters who grew up through the series, I'll try to use their most recognizable versions or ones that suit their style better. Example being Leo in his Master State, or Celio and Regulus being in their kid forms because, let's be honest, they just became copy and pasted cheap Chinese knockoffs of their fathers, and their arsenals in their use are also far more interesting. And finally, I'd like to give a massive thank you to Nickram and Seraphine for his huge assistance for the many Animal Kaiser matchups he's come up with for this video. In fact, he's the reason why I got motivated to make this video. His channel will be linked down in the description, so be sure to give him some support too. Not to mention, my boy, Yasaga Alvavis, and a decent chunk of the people in the Death Battle Matchup Reddit server, who made Animal Kaiser thumbnails in exchange for my suffering, pieces of my soul, and posters for their 1 at MUs. Hopefully you guys enjoy them! These thumbnails will be credited in the text boxes when they show up on screen. Now, with all of that out of our way, greetings to all of you once again, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kaiser Isaiah Fu, and let us finally begin with the video. The first section being, of course, the original Animal Kaiser.
Animal Kaiser!
Master Leo vs. Lion-O from Thundercats, leaders of a heroic team of animals who just so happen to be lions. Yes, very bare-bones connections for this match, but hey, this is among my 4 consistently brought up matches for Animal Kaiser that is coming from me. If Animal Kaiser ever joins Death Battle, no matter who his opponent would be, I believe that the very first poster boy of the series should be our first representative. For this case, I do like his opponent to be Lion-O, mostly due to vibes and that Lion-O requires a rerun. For this case, I'm not sure if they'll be doing 1985 or 2011 Lion-O, or a composite of both, either of which will work for me. I'm mostly up for the animation potential, however, since it's gonna be quite a silly thing to see Lion-O having a fight with an animal that is his same species, alongside how the battle could play out against Master Leo's dumb moveset, or working it in for this case. Of course, the final clash should be Master Leo's Akuno Ifrit against the Eye of Thundera that would split the earth in half due to how powerful these two are. Seems fun, I decently enjoyed this matchup, and hopefully someday I can find a better matchup for Master Leo. Kaiser Blue vs. Gal Blue from Super Sentai, well-known blue allies of the main hero, known for their big hearts and their links with the shark. Kaiser Blue is literally my favorite fictional character of all time, so seeing him having a matchup brings me unimaginable joy, even if I'm not entirely sold on it. Super Sentai representatives would also be pretty cool, especially since it's the Blue Ranger, who generally tends to be my favorite. Gal Blue could use his shark cutters against Kaiser Blue's sharp fins, then his Beast King sword against Blue's tail for his silly blade clashes. Then in their final bout have Gal Blue use his Gal Shark mecha to clash against Kaiser Blue's Kyokinaru Odin head-to-head. If Kaiser Blue takes this victory, he can slowly shred the mecha, then dash at full speed to annihilate it completely, then nuke a continent. You know, like his actual move. Overall, not that bad of an idea, and I hope my favorite fictional character shall take the victory. Kaiser Icarus vs. Ray McDougall from Fighter's History, 2 gifted wandering warriors who have sky-related faculties, with Icarus capable of using wind and flying, and Ray can make electricity. Considering humans already struggle against geese, one against the most powerful bird of prey might seem dumb, but if you take this to a Pokemon stance, Ray has electric moves and Icarus is a flying type, so I guess they're even. Ray has ranged attack options, so you can have a cool shot of Icarus flying around at high speeds, avoiding the attacks while diving down to attack Ray. While Icarus is knocked down from the sky, Ray would likely take the advantage, being up close and personal. With their final confrontation with Kaiser Icarus's Homare Tataki Hyperion against Ray's electric charge, have Ray catch the goddamn bird charging at him for a climactic final showdown, until one runs over the other in victory. This fight sounds like it has an interesting dynamic, and I wouldn't mind seeing it someday. Joe and Kid the Tiger vs. Billy and Jimmy Lee from Double Dragon, 2 sets of twin brothers using similar fighting styles with each other and wield extraordinary powers. This one is more unique than most of the others here, as this is a pair battle. Plus, considering both sets of twins have great coordination and teamwork, this pair battle could potentially have some well choreographed scenes and nice character moments. With Billy and Jimmy basically fighting tigers with batshit insane abilities, you can have them with moments of confusion as Joe and Kid create small tornadoes or combine together to form energy-based attacks on them. Have random weapons scattered all over the battlefield to let Billy and Jimmy have their advantage with their excellent weapon skills, and overall, just have a fun martial arts-based fight with each of the brothers supporting each other to gain an advantage against the other party. Hippo Larry, Barry, and Harry vs. Ed, and Eddie. Honestly, there's nothing for this. I just needed an MU for the Hippo brothers, and Ed, and Eddie are one of the random options I thought about, even though Ed and Eddie are not brothers. The fight could be wacky, silly, and that's about it. Jumbo the Great Ape vs. Donkey Kong from the Mario franchise, 2 gorillas with great strength and humor. That's as bare bones as you can get, but it is what it is. Have Jumbo and Donkey Kong get into a quick struggle between raw strength before you start getting to their wackier movesets. Jumbo can pull off his coconut soccer skills against Donkey Kong's coconut gun for silly shit. Jumbo can use his remote-controlled explosive toy while Donkey Kong just stands there, trying to understand what is it, to showcase his stupidity. And then Jumbo with his wrestling skills against Donkey Kong's boxing, just going ham on each other. This eventually results in both entering their final stage with Kaiser Jumbo and the Strong Kong, going wild on each other with fast yet strong attack rushes that cause massive destruction to the battlefield. The final move could also have a lot of impact, with a full effort punch from each of them with the Jumbo Muscle and the Giant Punch, resulting in a death similar to Saitama vs Popeye, except the loser gets blown away entirely in an explosion of blood. Overall, dumb strong monkey fight that I actually wouldn't mind seeing at all. White Knights vs Gingaman from Super Sentai, two groups of warriors linked to the light and purity to confront evil beings. You know, before looking at the image of Gingaman, I was expecting full-on holy look, but oh well. There's a small issue with this, as there are 7 members of the White Knights compared to 5 members of the Gingaman, but oh well, guess that's that. Considering each members have differing personalities, they could play off each other very well. And with the White Knights being different animals, their movesets would be far different and far more interesting than just a copy and paste a moveset of the same animal group. Overall, not much else to say here, but honestly, not one of the strongest MUs here, even for a group battle. Dark Force vs Homunculus from Full Metal Alchemist. I thought of the Genshin one for a moment. Anyways, they're antagonistic groups in some way created by their leader, with Father creating the Homunculus and Squirt training the Dark Force, with each member being the differing powers of the group. This one's a far more fair fight considering there's 7 members on each team, so it's much better for each member to go on head-to-head. Plus, it also carries the White Knights vs Gingaman situation of all of them having different personalities, which will be even more fun. I've not watched Full Metal Alchemist yet, but with how crazy their character abilities can be, I can see their abilities being quite interesting against the supernatural animals. Also, not much to say here, but probably be far more interesting than the White Knights vs Gingaman. Atlas vs Sengalgomon from Digimon, 2 dangerous beings with divine strength inspired by 2 different animals, being the mammoth and the hare respectively. This one's an interesting one. It's basically Mechagodzilla vs Behemoth with some differences. Sengalgomon can fire massive rounds of artillery on Atlas, while Atlas could rely on his crazy brute force and his head diamond laser. Just an animal-based kaiju fight that I wouldn't be entirely against seeing. Ares the saber-toothed tiger vs Ares from Blood of Zeus. One who carries the name while the other is literally the warlord Ares and are known for being brutal and bestial opponents. Honestly, barely anything here, just have them go batshit insane all the way into the combat before going mad at some point. Yeah, that's really all. Poseidon vs Poseidon from Hungry Dragon, 2 aquatic beings belonging to restricted groups, the Ancient Tyrants and the 11th tier. Despite how barebones this matchup's connections are, it is honestly the most likely one to happen out of all the Animal Kaiser matchups, with his fan-made trailer currently somehow surpassing 10,000 views. Congratulations to that, by the way, Nigrum. Though despite all this, I really don't see how this MU can work very well, with Poseidon basically never showing any moves aside from breathing fire compared to Poseidon, who at least has some crazy moves. Not to mention the size difference of Poseidon actually being really huge. Either way, probably could be fun seeing a crazy underwater or aerial fight between these two, Attack on Titan or Shadow of the Colossus style. Our Rados vs Saladin from Kingdom Hearts. Nigrum and Surfing never gave me the connections or contrast between these two, so oh well. I don't really have much to comment on this MU for that, but considering Saladin has several weapons by his side that are floating apparently from what you can see, you can have Auranos' giant dragonfly missile things as ways of playing around with them. Ninja Train Siegfried vs Ash Greninja from Pokemon. Yeah, just doesn't roll off the tongue as well as Ash Greninja vs Ninja Train Siegfried, so we're calling it that instead. 2 blue-colored animals led by a caring master whom in their final stages become ninjas and have an ultimate attack that is elemental-based. One of the few Animal Kaiser matchups that actually has some decent solid connections, but of course I'm mostly here for the animation potential. There could be a scene with Greninja's double team and Siegfried's split blaster having a clone army battle as they try to decipher which is the real one among them. Siegfried could use his lightning shot to try and get a good hit on Greninja, who counters his attempts with aerial ace, and of course it has to end with Greninja's giant water shuriken against Siegfried's vortex dragon. If you really want to, you can bring in Ash and Jack, but I really don't see any significance in doing so. Either way, love this matchup. Hopefully it will be one of the Animal Kaiser matchups in our show someday. Kaiser Apollo vs Satsuki Kiryu from Kill la Kill, 2 siblings of the main hero who want to confront their sibling for different reasons, with Apollo wanting to confront Leo to surpass him, and Satsuki confronting Ryuko as she sees her as an enemy. Though eventually they will team up with their sibling towards the finale of their series to face a greater evil. Oh boy, as if Satsuki didn't need any more opponents, but hey, at least it isn't as bad as Silver Winter or some shit like that. You can have Apollo take to the skies with his Flagger Skazer while blasting lightning balls at Satsuki as she dodges retaliating with her own ranged energy attacks, then clash of Apollo with her blade as he strikes her as a lightning arrow. Perhaps even an aerial battle as such. Maybe it could be really fun. Not much else to say, but darn, this battle could potentially be really fun, though sadly, with the many MU Satsuki has, like Armstrong or Bruno Bucciarati, this really doesn't need to happen. Galleon vs Ultraman 7, fathers of the main hero known to be legendary heroes with great power. You know, of all things for Galleon, I wasn't expecting a fucking Ultraman to be his opponent. This battle could be really fun as I'm seeing 7's moveset, however regarding the massive size difference, I'm not sure how this will play out. I don't have a lot to say again, oh well. Death Scorch vs Shura from Sakura Blade. Two evil beings who were defeated by a powerful good-hearted one being Galleon and Mikage, also having transformations that boost their dark power, with Death Scorch and the absolute evil Shura. I have nothing on this. A Stickman game character against Death Scorch? That's as obscure of a matchup as you're gonna get. Kaiser Koro vs Hiruzen Sarutobi from Naruto. The connections for this one weren't given as well. I just assume wise old mentors or something. Hiruzen's interesting array of abilities could be nice to see Kaiser Koro, and that's all for this section. Konosuke vs Konohamaru from Naruto. Two young ninja from ninja villages trained by a great ninja, being Zangetsu and Naruto Uzumaki. With Konosuke's transformation abilities and Konohamaru's many jutsus, this match should be really silly, with their personalities maybe being really fun too. Konohamaru could use the sexy jutsu on Konosuke, who just doesn't understand it at all because, you know, he's a fox. Konosuke's animal transformations could be used creatively, and heck, with Konosuke's main attack being transforming into a steamroller, you could definitely pull a Dio reference. Sounds like fun, but not all into this matchup. Tanemaru vs Sayu from Genshin Impact. Ninja Raccoon Dogs. It's just that simple, yet you see me preaching about this as among my favorite death battle matchups. In fact, it is my favorite original death battle matchup. Well, yes, it's a super simple matchup. I'm mostly here for the animation and soundtrack potential, like Goro vs Machamp. I can see the pre-battle interactions being actually pretty charming, with Sayu finding an actual ninja Tanuki, then somehow ninja bullshit they get into a brawl. The Claw to Claymore combat could be fast and exciting. There could be a scene where Tanemaru turns into a tank and fires at Sayu while she uses her elemental skill that absorbs an ice shield to bridge across an entire lake. Another where Tanemaru transforms into a vampire bat to suck Sayu's blood to heal, only for her to summon Muji Muji Dharma to heal herself back up. And the death could potentially be really creative or brutal. Emphasis on brutal, with Tanemaru transforming into Demon Tiger Phobos. And plus the music. One, it's Genshin Impact, it has amazing music, and two, Animal Kaiser generally has catchy music, so it combined likely it would be really good. It's a match I've come to absolutely love even more since the day I thought about it, and hopefully if it comes out, it'd be an extremely fun and exciting episode to watch. Hanzo vs Ninja Black from Super Sentai, two ninja that use sophisticated techniques and their great strength who also represent the gorilla. Barely anything here, Hanzo has a smaller variety of shapeshifting options compared to those like Tanemaru or Zangetsu, but they'd certainly be interesting. I'd also like to see how Ninja Black's elemental abilities will come into play against Hanzo's brute strength and small arsenal of weapons. Generally not much to say here too. Goemon vs the Samurai Bear from Ultimate Custom Night. Joke matchup, nothing else, don't actually want it. Zangetsu vs Fukasaku from Naruto. Wise old mentors who live in isolation and train legendary warriors who are not the main protagonists. They would also teach these warriors new abilities, with Jiraiya learning Sage Mode and Siegfried learning Mikiri. I guess it could be interesting. Both characters can have banter which showcases respect for each other and also showing that they are really wise. They can also have a melee fight, since Zangetsu is just like pretty much almost every other Animal Kaiser character, is mostly a melee fighter, and Fukasaku has Frog Kata. Fukasaku also probably can have a speed advantage because, he's also really small, so you could use that to his advantage, so Zangetsu would need to rely on strategy to get hits in. Plus, for a final confrontation, Jesus, what's wrong? I guess reading too much has affected me. In a final confrontation, you can have Zangetsu use his Shingan Kanameshi, while Fukasaku in Sage Mode using his confrontation chant while seeing who will land a hit first to take the victory. You know what, I guess this matchup doesn't seem so bad after all, I suppose. Celio vs Kinnikuman Taro from Kinnikuman. Sons of legendary warriors who are almost as great as their fathers. A somewhat weird case for Celio, since he and Regulus actually bested Galleon together in the comic, and I don't think Master Leo actually managed to best Galleon, but oh well. Barely much here too, it's a lion cub against a buffed up teenager. Though it would be interesting to see how Hiniku Mantaro attempts his magnetic manipulation on Celio's bangles, if they actually work at all, increasing his physical capabilities while Celio does so with the strong card auras, and definitely a cool moment with Celio summoning his Galaxy Blade, but Mantaro could just hold onto it, or perhaps even shatter it. Not really too much here, but oh well, not entirely on board for this match. Regulus vs Ashi from Samurai Jack, two children of a being seen as the absolute evil with incredible and powerful faculties. They also join the good guys instead of the bad ones. Regulus could have an axe to sword fight against Ashi, ways of trying to counter her shapeshifting but fail, and when Regulus tries to pull off his ultimate move, Ashi could try pulling a Hal Jordan and travel back in time to kill Regulus, only for him to outspeed her and annihilate the earth or something. Also, not all that interesting for a match. Oh well. Mecha Animals EX vs Cybertron 7 from Transformers, two groups of mechanical beings with powerful and intelligent members. I'm not gonna try and cover this, probably just gonna be an all-out shooting spree or something. Villain Beast vs Black Hat Organization from Villainous, two criminal groups with special members and an equally evil and terrifying leader, being Joker and Black Hat. Considering the Black Hat Organization has so many members, this one would be another pain in the ass to handle. Maybe it'll be more of a concentration on Joker and Black Hat, which would certainly be fun considering Black Hat has a lot of abilities, and Joker with his crazy amount of firearms and access to the forbidden arts. But that's all, I'm not gonna talk much on this too. Brutus vs Itachi for Naruto, older brothers of one of the main protagonists of this series, who did the ultimate unthinkable act to protect their younger brothers. They were then branded as traitors, cast off from their society, and part of a villainous team for a majority of their time afterwards. However, they would eventually redeem themselves, with Brutus becoming an Animal Kaiser himself, and Itachi through his death. One of the more thematic matchups for Animal Kaiser combatants, and despite me hating it a lot in the beginning, I've warmed up to it a lot as time went by. Considering it's another Sharingan user, the animation could take advantage of the multiple illusions Itachi could trap Brutus in. Not to mention Itachi's own wide versatility of abilities that would be interesting to see against Brutus. Maybe even his Susanoo facing against Brutus' Summon Wraith to have a clash with their blades that show off their destructive natures. You can have Brutus be killed near the end of the fight, only to be revived by summoning his Grim Reaper ability. And here comes what probably is my favorite part of the fight. The potential for a character arc sort of situation similar to Yoda in his fight against King Mickey. Brutus, after being revived, could potentially lose his memory, then questioning what he fights for, striking conversation with Itachi about the situation, who gives his opinion. This motivates Brutus and allows him to finally find his meaning to fight, causing him to finally awaken into Kaiser Brutus, making it feel like how Brutus himself actually awakened in his canon story. This then leads to a final phase for the battle where the track could potentially lead to an emotional twist, mixing with a cinematic grand feeling, before one of the fighters eliminates the other, but not before thanking the other, then finally leaving. Writing this script, it's made me realize how much this matchup can really be amazing. Sure, Brutus might not be Itachi's best opponent, but Itachi very well is his. I'm glad that this matchup has grown on me, and I pray someday that even with a tiny stroke of luck, this may happen in the future after Itachi fights his other requested opponents. And there I say it, Brutus vs Itachi is the best matchup for any Animal Kaiser character out there. Yep, I'm saying that right now, right here, right now. No takebacks. Galactic Invaders vs Underground Empire 2 from Super Sentai. Two empires originating from another world to cause havoc on the Earth. Both teams with powerful beings and an emperor far superior than all of the members combined. Oh boy, another issue again like the White Knights vs Gingaman, with the Underground Empire team having 8 members in total, with the Galactic Invaders having 6. So in the end, I'm just hoping for some cool cosmic destruction, plus the activation of the Nova Zone might be cool too. Armageddon vs Satan from Bastard. By the way, heads up, this is probably the best thumbnail Alvin has made by my request because he likes Versus. Nigrum and Seraphine never gave me the connection for this one too, so oh well. Considering Versus is basically an angry cosmic level creature while Satan is a wise and intelligent fighter, plus the fact that both are basically cruel and twisted beings, the potential for dialogue and character animation could be really fun. However, what I'm mostly here for, as always, is the destruction potential. These cosmic creatures can go absolutely haywire with their destruction. Versus and Satan could devour planets and stars, have a cosmic beam clash with Satan's magic and Versus' eye lasers. Perhaps even a shot where Satan counters Versus' galaxy runaway by just holding the Emperor's tail back with his brute force alone. Versus could activate his Nova Zone in a dire moment but Satan could fuck around with it with his spatial manipulation and give Virtus a crazy beatdown. Potentially a crazy death too by the end that would be hella insane on the destructive potential, or for this case the destructive scale. Overall, not that bad of a matchup, would probably be fun just to see a crazy alien whale emperor go up against fucking Satan himself. Mammoth Priest vs Seraphimon from Digimon, two beings of a purity and great strength. Yeah, bare bones as hell again, but oh well. A battle between two pure beings who are probably wise as hell would likely be fun, and considering their sizes, a smackdown of brute strength would certainly be awesome. Kaiser Daedalus vs Nana Shimura from My Hero Academia, two characters linked to a great hero who would also grant them a powerful ability or technique, with Kaiser Daedalus teaching Icarus the master attack and Nana Shimura passing down One for All to All Might. Of all things, I actually wasn't expecting freaking My Hero Academia to be one of the opponents for the Animal Kaiser characters. Least of all freaking Kaiser Daedalus. Oh well. Some crazy stuff can happen considering it is One for All. I'm pretty sure we've all seen All Might and Deku do whatever the hell they can. And Kaiser Daedalus capable of dealing huge explosion-sized attacks with his Daedalus Phoenix. So generally, they're about relatively the same until Kaiser Daedalus unleashes his Homare Tataki Saifli... how do you call this? Sylphides? Whatever the fuck. Yeah, basically this thing nukes a continent, his Zetai Kaza finish end will just roast the entire earth, and you know what, that's overkill. No more of this. Probably could be a cool fight, but I'll pity the My Hero Academia fans for this situation. Spike Roshi vs Master Roshi from Dragon Ball. Do I really need to explain? The looks, the name, the thematics of Roshi being turtle school stuff and Spike Roshi being an actual turtle, old ass mentors, both wear sunglasses. Yeah, I don't need to go any deeper. The animation potential ain't as strong, but it can be wacky. Spike Roshi can use his shell in crazy ways for offensive capabilities like being a cannonball or slamming to Master Roshi. Plus the other way around with Roshi performing his martial arts on Spike Roshi, only for the 10,000-year-old turtle to hide within his shell as a form of defense. Though the craziest part would definitely be a final clash between Buff Roshi and a Kaiser Flash Spike Roshi, unleashing their ultimate attacks being the Kamehameha and the Zetai Kazen finish end. Both being planet-destroying attacks that could potentially be really impactful as Roshi unleashes a full-effort beam while Spike Roshi just does an area-wide explosion that could have crazy impact. Fine enough matchup, might be wacky, dumb fun. Kaiser Two-Horn vs Aerylus, Forgotten Elder Angel from Diablo, two mighty beings from heaven in a rather small group, being the Animal Kaiser of the past for Kaiser Two-Horn and the super unique angel for Aerylus. Another bare-bones as hell matchup, but hey, Kaiser Two-Horn is my favorite of the old Animal Kaiser, so it's a plus for me. There's not really much I can talk about this because, you know, this matchup isn't all that interesting. There could be a brief horn-to-horn fight. Aerylus can use his frozen affixes to freeze Two-Horn, but the Two-Horn Narwhal could just create his God Springs to clear his effects. The fast and teleport affixes can come into play for Aerylus to get strikes on Kaiser Two-Horn's blind spots, as the Narwhal manages to counter them one by one. And then you can have Aerylus capable of summoning time-lost angels, so one citation against an entire freaking army of angels could potentially be really cool. Hippo Daddy vs Kozuki Oden from One Piece. Characters who use their laughter for battle and are the fathers of important characters, with Hippo Daddy being the father of the Hippo brothers, and Kozuki Oden being the father of Momonosuke and Hiyori. Considering how good and rowdy these two can be, the potential for this battle to just be hilarious might be somewhat high. Though surprisingly, it can also be really respectful, as both Hippo Daddy and Kozuki Oden are extremely compassionate characters, and with Hippo Daddy bringing song and laughter into battle, it can really be lighthearted too. Also, not too much to talk about here, but considering the connections, I'm hoping these two can at least have the time of their lives battling and maybe even become good friends like the death battle between All Might and Might Guy. Don Bison vs M. Bison from Street Fighter. Evil gangsters who inspire fear into their worlds. However, while Don Bison did redeem himself as an Animal Kaiser, M. Bison is still evil as always. These two would have an interesting dynamic, with one being redeemed from darkness and the other plunging deeper into it. So maybe there's some interaction potential. Not to mention the animation too. Don Bison and M. Bison have extremely similar fighting styles, focusing on speed and destructive power over all else. So we could have another battle that really focuses on a scale of destruction. Don Bison could run M. Bison around the world before jumping and crushing him into a boulder, poison M. Bison somewhere after an attack, or even summon his army of fellow American Bison for a stampede, only for M. Bison to unleash a powerful Psycho Crusher that sends them all flying. M. Bison could actually be successful in putting out Dawn, only for him to summon the Grim Reaper to revive himself, before entering a dark burst while M. Bison enters his final Bison form for their final confrontation, leading to a battle of insane destruction as the Bisons unleash their full power on each other as a full-powered Zetakazen Finishen clashes with a heavily powered Psycho Crusher. Sounds fun, though Shang Tsung is probably a better opponent for M. Bison. Oh well. Elder Pedronomus vs. Astro from Sensei no Barrage. Two characters who climbed up the ladder and became an important character. Honestly, replace it with any hardworking character and there we go. Also not much to talk about here, and that's quite an unfortunate way to end this section.
Which tag will win?
Kaiser Rajan vs. Korra from The Legend of Korra. Originating of a great hero, both use a great power who also originate from their ancestors or past selves. Oh boy! A combatant for Korra that's probably worse than Jotaro? That's a first. Anyways, the animation potential here isn't all that good too. It's really just Rajan resorting to mostly melee attacks, while Korra with her elements. Though it can lead to a crazy final showdown with Rajan unleashing his burning salamandra, becoming a blazing phoenix as Korra in her avatar state could carry all the elements into one to face the phoenix head-on. May be cool, but who gives a shit? Kaiser Bolt vs. Black Lightning from DC Comics. Two powerful heroes with electricity-related powers. Both were also inheritors of their abilities, with Bolt being the son of Siegfried and the passing of the torch for Black Lightning. It is a somewhat interesting idea, though the fact that Kaiser Bolt might actually beat a DC character is pretty cool. Black Lightning could create a giant lightning hand to try and swipe away Kaiser Bolt, only for the tiger to use his flying Sagittarius to pierce a hole through the hand to get in and attack. Bolt could also try a sneak attack with his Raimei no Bolt Ray, only for Black Lightning to notice it in time and trap him in a cage of electricity. Kaiser Bolt could have his electrical abilities absorbed by Black Lightning somewhere. Black Lightning could also teleport randomly with lightning while getting any hits, which forces Bolt to try and predict his next area of attack before he can counter. Plus, for the finale, you gotta bring in the Vortex Drake. Perhaps with Black Lightning trying to absorb the dragon, with the victory being decided if the superhero can absorb it or not. Sounds like a bit of fun, but to be fair, since Bolt's moveset is entirely recycled, it might just be better to not have him fight at all, I guess. Demon Bull Algol vs. Skydrium from Fairy Tail. Two destructive beings from a powerful species, being demon and dragon respectively. Also being fathers, with Algol as the father of all bovids and Skydrium as the adoptive father of Rock Chenny. I don't think that part for the father of all bovids was meant to be literal. It's just that Algol was an Orochus? Orochus? I think it's called Orochus, which is the ancestor of all bovids, or at least one of them. Anyways, regarding this fight, it could be pretty crazy. Both can resort to brute force several times during their battle. Algol could ram Skydrium and drag him across the earth before tossing him into a mountain, which would shatter easily upon contact. Skydrium could use his Shadow Dragon Slayer magic to turn his bones into shadow to outmatch Algol in speed, forcing the bovid to unleash his Devil Reborn form. This could lead to a final confrontation with Skydrium facing Algol head-on with the Demon Bull unleashing his Necro Giga Break, splitting his now skeleton body into several pieces in an attempt to outmaneuver the dragon and strike from several areas. Not entirely sold on the matchup, but hey, it could potentially have some fun. Demon Bat Mephisto vs. Coronavirus Bat from real life. This was a silly joke matchup I made. I don't think anyone else has something from Mephisto, so here it is, I guess. Jesus, I need to be more careful with my fucking joke matchups. Jesus fucking Christ. Demon Mammoth Gigantos vs. Lord Deimos from Mace, The Dark Age. Two phenomenally powerful beings known for their demonic powers. Another barebones as hell matchup, but honestly, what can you do with Animal Kaiser's limited lore? Well, with what I've seen, this will just be a battle of mostly close quarter combat, as Lord Deimos has only really shown fighting with his giant sword. I think it's a claymore. I think it's called a claymore. Yeah, I think it should be called a claymore. Anyways, this could lead into a battle with several raw as hell moments, like Gigantos using Evil Ground to flip a massive chunk of the earth at Deimos, only for him to slice it in half effortlessly. Gigantos could also use his Jigoku Tsubushi to try and flatten Deimos, only for the demonic lord to hold him back, push the mammoth back into the air, and then barrage him with a combo of slices. The ending could also be raw as hell, with Demon Mammoth Gigantos activating his Devil Reborn form and unleashing his Demon Dea Press, growing in size to stomp on Deimos, causing heavy damage to the Dark Lord. He would then split his body to form a giant hammer, attempting to end the fight only for Deimos to use his remaining strength to hold Giganto's back with his sword, similar to Raiden against Metal Gear Ray for a showcase of absolutely insane brute strength. Maybe with hype as hell music in the background to emphasize the insane raw power both are unleashing. This matchup wouldn't really be much in terms of, well, everything, but hey, a battle of insane strength from these two just sounds fun as hell. Samurai Animals versus the Demon Slayer group from Demon Slayer. I really didn't have any idea what to choose, so I went with these four, even though the Samurai Animals have like 5 members. This matchup isn't anything special, so well. Demon Tiger Phobos and Deimos versus Dante and Virgil from Devil May Cry. Demon Twin Brothers. Blah blah bare bones again. But hey, it's a duo fight where both parties were required to be hella useful, so probably some fun will be involved. Considering how Dante and Virgil's personalities contrast, plus with the seriousness and viciousness of the Demon Tiger twins, the banter could potentially be a lot of fun. Though despite the wide arsenal of Dante and Virgil, the battle animation might not be as good as one thinks due to the limited moveset of the Demon Tiger twins, unless Death Battle composites the Animal Kaiser Big Cat moveset. But also it isn't all the best due to the fact that there's barely any special moves or ranged attacks that can play off the abilities of Dante and Virgil. Though a final scene of Phobos and Deimos pulling out their X attack, unleashing the Suranuki no Mai against the Demon Twins in their Devil Trigger forms could be a nice scene, especially if the moon piercing would be involved. Don't do this match, it'd probably be uninteresting and Dante and Virgil probably have better. Lord Hippo King versus Emperor Ming from Flash Gordon. Two emperors with their flaws. Hippo King was crazy and loved rare things, and Ming was a malefic, hence his nickname Ming the Merciless. Oh boy, what even is this matchup? You know, I think personality-wise it could play off with the very goofy Lord Hippo King and a serious genocidal maniac that is Ming, but if I was to be honest, I do not see anything special with this matchup. Kaiser Viator versus Kyoryu Red from Super Sentai. One thing before we continue, I just like to say that I'm still not really sure how to call Viator. I mean, I checked on Google, and in Google Translate, his name in Afrikaans is just called Viator, and it also means peace. But yeah, I do apologize if I'm butchering the pronunciation. I'm not very good at this. But anyway, former leaders of a team of warriors, the former White Knights, and the Kyoryugers, who will give their leadership roles to someone else. Viator gave his leadership role to Sketchinder, and Daigo gave his role to his son Dankun. It sounds like an interesting battle, could potentially play out like how I described Kaiser Blue versus Gao Blue. It goes, with both capable of matching each other with their abilities. But Kyoryu Red has a gun, so insert a poacher reference there, I guess. Kaiser King Cheetah versus Firestar from the Warrior series. Two important feline faculties that are important to them. Wait, what? Nigrum, is this a broken English moment, or am I just stupid? Also, wait, hold on. Firestar is an actual cat. How would this even work? What the fuck? Kaiser Rockin' Axolotl versus Josuke Higashikata from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. They're fucking steak hair. That's all. This matchup fucking sucks. Demon Ape Gunga Gunga versus Thulsa Doom from Conan the Barbarian. Two demonic beings with an almost unbeatable power acting as the final bosses of their series, who would face several heroes in order to be defeated. Honestly, that's like basically almost every single fucking final boss out there, but oh well. I really don't see how this can play out well. The only thing Thulsa Doom has is shapeshifting and being a good swordsman. I doubt he can really be an interesting opponent for Gunga Gunga with the fucking ape's crazy abilities. Pretty weak matchup, and I hope Gunga Gunga has a better matchup next time, considering he is one of the more interesting Animal Kaiser big bosses. God Axel versus Solgaleo from Pokemon. Two divine evolutions of beings, Axel and Cosmoem, having the appearance of a lion. This could actually be a decently interesting fight despite not having that many connections anyway. The lions in Animal Kaiser are always the ones with the largest moveset pool to pull from. Plus, added with other big cats, it would just increase the set. And Solgaleo being a Pokemon would also mean that it has a lot of moves to use against Axel. Solgaleo has a lot of ranged attacks while Axel mostly relies on physical moves, so there could be a scene of character animation showing their difference in their proficient fighting styles. Axel could use his God Shingeki no March to catch Solgaleo off guard since he's sending freaking vehicles towards a Pokemon, a scene of Solgaleo traveling through wormholes, and of course, with two beings this powerful and has to cause cosmic destruction somewhere. Man, Pokemon and Animal Kaiser matchups somehow generally are pretty solid for the most part. Mad Mecha Army versus Kaiju Jaeger Hybrid from Pacific Rim. Robot groups that basically fight for the side of good but will eventually end up corrupted. Considering how big the hybrid is, this will likely be a one-man army fight against multiple overgrown insects to it. And I'd love to see how stupid the fight would be and escalate, as the Mad Mecha Army animals will use more of the destructive weaponry within their mechanical bodies. Mecha Tiger EXZ vs GN000000 from Gundam. Two machines using powerful weapons and wield titanic power. Basically, almost every strong character who wields strong weapons, but whatever works. I really don't see how this can work out well too. It's basically the God King robot against Mecha Whale EXE, but less cool, if you even read the Animal Kaiser comics for that. And the mecha animal is really small compared to the Gundam. I guess they could have a somewhat destructive attack moment, but that's really its only saving grace. Mecha Whale EXE vs Yamato from Space Battleship Yamato. Two huge machines that can go into space and are equipped with insane firepower. A pretty weird matchup that I came across, but hey, it really does seem to be fun, and I consider this to be Nigram and Seraphine's best Animal Kaiser matchup. I think there could be a scene where Mecha Whale EXE gets released from his chamber under the ocean, then rises up into the air to face Yamato. There, they'd have an aerial battle. Yamato would generally fire energy attacks while Mecha Whale could be tanking them like a champ and deflecting them back at Yamato. And then there could be a moment where the Earth gets annihilated, mainly due to how deadly Mecha Whale EXE is, forcing the battle to finally take into space, with a supercharged Mecha Whale against Yamato in its most comfortable area in the battlefield. The Hanbusitsu reactor... Wait, hold on. I'm pronouncing that right? Hanbusitsu reactor would certainly be an amazing moment to behold, so I wonder how it'd come into the battle too. Pretty dope matchup, wouldn't mind it at all. Dark Warrior Leonardo vs Akuma from Street Fighter. Warriors of Darkness who use a dark ancient martial art with the intention of murder. They also act as the main enemy for the story's protagonists who are world-wandering warriors, after defeating their masters, those being Ryu and Kazuhachi. Surprisingly thematic, but honestly some Animal Kaiser characters are based off some specific Western characters at times. But hey, it does well for me, because Akuma is one of my favorite fictional characters of all time. The fight would likely be mostly hand-to-hand, so please don't give it to the Source Filmmaker team. Plus, there could be some added animation potential too. Leonardo could use his Akakibara no Tasogare against Akuma, showcasing his brute strength only for Akuma to use strategy and countering Leonardo's hit after he comes falling down. Leonardo using his Ankoku no Ite to poison Akuma could probably have some fun interactions there too, and there could also be a great final showdown with Oni and Horrocross Leonardo, with the Yami no Evil Yokoshima Ken against the Raging Demon. Maybe even with one landing their blow first, but with the other surviving it, then immediately countering it with their own. If Akuma wins for this case, he could be hit with Leonardo's best attack, survive, strike back with the Raging Demon, kick Leonardo into the air, then end him with his Tenchi Sokaigen for a brutal death. Generally a really solid matchup, but with Akuma having much better opponents like Rao, Garo, and Yujiro Hanma, I don't think this would actually become a reality as sad as it is for me. Ultimate Fighter Kazuhachi vs Ryu from Street Fighter. Wandering world warriors who had their master slain by a dark warrior. They eventually gain allies along the way of their journey, as well as a form of combat that is the opposite of what these dark masters wield, plus defeating them by the end of their stories. Another decently thematic Animal Kaiser vs Street Fighter matchup. That's pretty interesting. This is basically the same situation with Akuma vs Leonardo, except with quite a few differences. While Leonardo is a bear who focuses on powerful strikes, Kazuhachi is a kangaroo whose specialty is fast attacks but can still deal powerful attacks by himself. The hand-to-hand combat interaction could be fun, plus the fact that Kazuhachi himself would have to occasionally kick at rapid speeds. This would also probably lead to a scene where Ryu is just gonna block all his attacks and then counter with his own. A battle between Evil Ryu and Kung Fu vs Kazuhachi could result in both just going entirely all out with raw strength, like Ryu vs Jin, that causes insane destruction to the environment. Eventually, this will finally end with Ryu using the power of nothingness, in a climactic final clash between their best moves, with Ryu unleashing his Shin Hadoken, and Kazuhachi with his Shin Goku Hado no Kobushi. Get the reference by the way? Overall, another potentially really solid animation situation, but likely if Ryu actually had to return, I doubt Kazuhachi would be his best choice. Turtle Sensei vs Splinter from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. both being masters except it's the reverse this time with the Turtle Sensei being the master, haha funny, yeah nothing for this. Sergeant Zeke versus Guile from Street Fighter. Majors were once soldiers on the battlefield, though Guile still remains in it while Zeke quit after the death of his close friend. Really nothing much here too, just mostly chose this because of their hairstyles and stories were somewhat similar. Cyclone Lee versus Rock Lee from Naruto. Lee, that's all. Plus the size difference here is just way too big. Unless you want to make Cyclone Lee a composite animal size, then yeah, maybe he has a chance. Dark Ninja Genyosai versus Orochimaru from Naruto. Ninjas whom were banished from their lands after being found for committing acts against the ninja clan, eventually returning seeking for the destruction of these clans as revenge, though eventually Orochimaru did become somewhat redeemed. Somehow, I don't even know how, while Genyosai just got utterly annihilated by Kaiser Axel. In terms of the animation potential, I think some of it does exist. The banter could potentially be quite enjoyable with what essentially is a battle between predator and prey, with Genyosai being a golden eagle and Orochimaru being very snake-like. And with Orochimaru having his movesets, having quite a decent amount of it being snake-wise, you can have Genyosai basically just rip off the meat and eat it for all I know. Plus, maybe have Genyosai use his ultimate move, Kijutsu Sugat... Wait, hold on, how do I say this? Kijutsu Sugat... fuck it, just use his ultimate move to try and seal Orochimaru. Maybe he does succeed, but it happens to be a fake out. I don't know, not much else to say here for this matchup, but what can I do? Red Ogre Agira versus Arataki Ito from Genshin Impact. Honestly, their connections are just Red Ogres, both use clubs with spikes, both have monstrous strength, and while Ito is kind of a goofball but a really chill dude, Agira is just straight up an evil being who wants nothing more but to destroy everything. The animation setup could potentially have Ito play into his role as being a really kind person despite how he generally is, with Agira wreaking havoc in Inazuma, defeating the military easily and harming the civilians before Ito's gang arrive to stop him. However, Ito telling his gang to stand back while he handles Agira himself. With Agira's ability Foul, have him instantly go for the attack and slide kick Ito. Maybe Ito could see this coming and counter back with his own attack before Agira can even deal any damage. Then for the majority of the fight, it can be a showcase of raw brute strength with Ito and Agira having a showdown with their fists, with their weapons and abilities coming in afterwards to take an advantage over the other. Agira can use his Ayakashi Gono Mai to send skulls towards Ito like soccer balls, with Ito slicing and shattering them easily with his fists and claymore, or maybe even having him launch Ushi to break them and taunt Agira, causing the Red Ogre to beat Ushi until his HP drops to 0, while Ito gets a super strength stack. Agira could then use his Onishigoki Screw to slide kick Ito again, but the goofball just grabs him by the legs and launches him far away to get their fight away from the city to prevent Agira from harming more civilians. Plus with the finale having Agira finally bringing out his Golden Kanabo, while Ito using his Elemental Burst to bring forth his own Oni's Ken Kanabo for a club fight that creates an insane amount of damage. Agira could use his Oni Kongo Hagane Shibaki to shatter Ito's club, though the reverse is done with Ito unleashing his elemental skill to shatter Akira's weapon for a truly raw moment of brute strength. However, if Ito does come out on top as the victorious one, have the Inazuma people cheer for his victory, as he's finally seen as a hero to everyone for saving them. A pretty cool concept, and maybe it could work as a really fun episode to be had. Honestly, I'm really excited for the idea. Blue Ogre Basara versus Elma from Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. Nigrum says it has the same connections as Agira versus Ito, which, I'm not sure how this one works. Unfortunately, Basara also basically has no moveset as he's just a friend card, so we're ending this on a bad note again. Shishiwaka vs Shiki Granbell from Eden Zero, two valiant and powerful heroes with loyalty and extremely dangerous powers. Not gonna lie, I have no idea who Shiki is, so his section will be short. You can have these two fight on ground level, then eventually take to space to cause planetary destruction, and also have Shishiwaka pull out the world moment since he can stop time. Also, I've heard Shiki's tech is interesting, so maybe there's potential for some good animation here. Benkei vs Noboru Gogenzaka from Yu-Gi-Oh! Characters that are inspirations from Japan. Benkei refers to the folklore character Saito Musashi Benkei, and Noboru uses a deck that makes a different hero of folklore from Japan. Nigrum. How do you even have this as a matchup? What the absolute fuck? Hauser vs Archpriest Gaja from Super Sentai. Two dangerous and powerful beings known for being almost seen as the absolute evil. This is probably gonna be another case of not having much to talk about, which is pretty much gonna be almost the entire section of Strong Animal Kaiser Maximum here. Anyway, Hauser probably has it best in combat, while Gaja does have spells which would help him in battle. Plus, a battle between Gaja's final mode and Hauser with his full unrestricted form unleashing the Ginro Fenrir no Kiba might be cool, I guess. Geronimo vs Spiny from Dinosaur King. Spinosauruses using different elements and oppose each other, with it being fire and water. Yeah, I have nothing here. Tonga vs Atlantis from Kinnikuman. Two dangerous beings linked to the aquatic world member of their army or group, with the Dino Army and the 7 Devil Chojin with special powers. Nothing much here too. I suppose there can be a barrage battle with Tonga using his Ich-Theos beat. Ich-Theos, I don't know, it's just called Ich, I don't know how to pronounce it. His Brutus Brink in an attempt to cut up Atlantis, but the Fishman uses his neck cut dropkick to counter. And Tonga using his Umi no Tribal to launch coelacanth-like missiles at Atlantis, while he can counter with his Water Ball or Magnum, or something else. Not too interesting for this one too. Gladios vs Tyrantrum from Pokemon. Two Tyrannosauruses with a hot fighting soul. For this one, there really isn't anything. Since Gladios is mostly just gonna be biting down on his opponent and growing in size, while his only range attack, Yoroi no Buzzblow, has him conjure a giant hammer to smash opponents. With Tyrantrum also having a wide moveset, I guess it could be fun to see what they'd be doing for Tyrantrum side. Dodalgo vs Tricera from Fossil Fighters. Triceratopses with colossal strength and an ability that turns them into a literal bulldozer. Okay, that last one is just bullshit, Nigrum. Dodalgo cannot turn into an actual bulldozer without the help of bigger mega cards. That aside, looking at Tricera's moveset, this is basically your average wacky-ass Animal Kaiser Triceratops, but probably on drugs. You know what? You got me sold on this matchup. It can be somewhat turn-based, just like how both games work, thankfully, so I guess finally you have something loyal to Animal Kaiser, and I guess for this case also Fossil Fighters, followed by each of their crazy techniques. So yeah, there definitely has to be a head clash somewhere because, you know, they are Triceratopses, maybe with a wacky finale with them bringing out their best attacks. I don't know, it could be really fun. I am quite interested in this matchup. Geiger vs Millennium Rodan from Godzilla. Arboreal prehistoric reptiles using their powers to confront invaders from another world. Not gonna lie, Wiz, this might not go as well, but it probably will be hilarious. Rodan is just so much larger than Geiger, but Geiger himself is far stronger, so just picture a fly beating the living shit out of an elephant, or something like Raiden fighting Metal Gear Ray with the rules of nature bullshit. I watched an episode with this matchup just for this silly shit to happen. Galactic Emperor The End vs Void Ghidorah from the Godzilla Earth anime. Alien invader space dragons who mess around with time and space, while also having a bunch of allies by their side, whether it be a cult or underlings. Originally, Dialga was my choice for The End's opponent, though with the help of the Death Battle Matchups Reddit server, not Reddit server, it's just called a subreddit, I actually managed to land myself Void Ghidorah as The End's opponent. This battle could potentially have some of the craziest and most destructive potential an Animal Kaiser matchup can ever have. There could be an Attack on Titan style battle for this fight, as The End is far smaller than Ghidorah, but has superior speed and he would be flying around outmaneuvering the Danger Noodle next, biting and thrashing each of them. Maybe there could be a scene where Ghidorah tosses The End into a volcano as a reference to The End's own move. It could then escalate to Void Ghidorah messing around with space and time, to weaken The End, so he counters by stopping time. And of course it has to bring in cosmic destruction, with The End using his Zodiac Tyrant to annihilate the Earth, crushing it as well, where the final confrontation begins, where their clash at full power will shatter planets, stars, and perhaps even galaxies. While Dialga is a decent alternative, I really wouldn't mind either of them fighting The End. Well, you know, but this one is still gonna be a fun cosmic battle anyway. Dr. Mole vs Professor Chaos from South Park. Evil geniuses and something about mechs. Also, the fact that Dr. Mole is a golden hamster and Butters owns hamsters as pets just makes this a little funnier. Anyways, this fight can only really go one way, with your mechas. Since Dr. Mole can only really fight with his mech and Professor Chaos would be overshadowed pretty quickly in just his human form. Maybe be like Batman vs. Iron Man where Dr. Mole overwhelms Butters quickly, so he has to get into his Mecha Minion Chaos Supreme. It could generally also be like a lot of these other fights where the Animal Kaiser character is far better up in close combat. For this case, that'd be Dr. Mole because of his fighting style and his moveset. But Professor Chaos would be far better in range because, you know, he has his missiles and lava shots, similar to Kiryu in his fight against Mechagodzilla. Wait, what am I even talking about? Kiryu is Mechagodzilla. I mean, Kiryu against Dragon Sword. Oh my god, what is wrong with me? Well, through this battle, Professor Chaos's mecha would break apart similar to his own boss battle, while he brings some more company to assist in rebuilding his mecha, as Dr. Mole does his best fending the mecha off and smacks away all the assistants, or at least as much as he can. Though eventually it has to end with a bang. Mainly as Dr. Mole's best attacks are related to explosive, with his X attack Giant Missile and best attack being a Giant Bomb. Might be dumb fun, and you know what, I actually wouldn't mind seeing this fight. Number 00 versus Ditto from Pokemon. Creatures with unstable molecular structures with the capability of shapeshifting into different creatures from their franchises. It seems decent at first, but really it ain't all that special. Number 00 mostly relies on his own moveset for combat, and when he transforms he only has like 4 creature bases he can turn into anyway. Unlike Ditto, who literally has hundreds of Pokemon transformations to choose from, with an even wider variety of movesets. However, I think they can still play off each other decently well. Number 00's Tyrannosaurus base can battle Tyrantrum. Cobra base can battle Arbok with her shapeshifting into Pidgeot for a predator-prey situation, but Number 00 shapeshifts into his Eagle base. Followed by an underwater battle with the Shark base and Ditto's multiple water types, like, you know, Sharpedo or Whalmer. It could probably end with both attempting to transform into each other and using their best abilities on each other. Not sure what Ditto is, he has like a shitload of Pokemon to pull from, but Number 0 would just dissolve into his liquid-like form and form his Spiky Club to beat the shit out of everything. Or at least beat the ever-living shit out of Ditto. Might be an interesting battle, and you know what, I guess I'm potentially up for it. Hippo Chio vs Barbara Peck from Genshin Impact. What were you expecting this? It's just Super Idol Luciano. I'm sorry, there's nothing I have for this. Hippo Chio's backup versus BTS BTS fan. Hippo Chio's backup versus BTS fans. Okay, look, I'm running out of ideas and I don't want to torture Nigram and Seraphine by asking him to mark more connections, okay? I'm sorry. And the final matchup to end this entire list. We have Jangoro Mora versus Poison Ivy from DC Comics. Chlorokinetic characters who use plant toxins and mind-controlling pheromones, which are aimed for different reasons, with Poison Ivy using it to protect endangered species and the natural environment from the careless actions of humans, and Jangoro Mora to eliminate all life on Earth for the sole intent of plants dominating the planet. While in their beginnings they are villains, eventually they would have a change of heart and become anti-heroes. Surprisingly thematic for what I originally made as a quick spite matchup against DC, but you know what, my days of spite matchups against DC are already over. There is a bit of animation potential for these two characters, with them capable of using chlorokinesis for various users like offense and defense, with Jangoro Mora also attempting to close the gap between him and Ivy, as he does enjoy tearing apart his opponents himself. You can have both of them attempt to use their mind-controlling abilities on each other, but it doesn't really work, and plus, a climactic finale with Jangoro Mora using his ultimate attack, growing to a size that reaches out into space for a continent annihilating slash, not continent slashing. I mean, I guess that still works. For a continent annihilating slash, which Poison Ivy could maybe grow a giant plant in hopes of blocking the attack or trying to, you know, counter against it. Surprisingly not as bad as I originally thought it would be. It's quite a decent surprise. While it is still probably a stomp, on its own this matchup isn't that bad, though hopefully Jangoro Mora can land into a better matchup in the future. Same for a majority of these other characters. And that finally ends our list for the video. I'm glad that our final section eventually ended on a high note. While a lot of these matchups are absolutely terrible, as expected from a game with basically no lore, some of these matchups surprised me with how their animation potential could actually be fun and enjoyable, to even some having decent connections despite the characters barely playing a part in the Animal Kaiser story. While I would absolutely love for Animal Kaiser to be on Death Battle, the chances of this happening is almost zero just due to how obscure Animal Kaiser is. Heck, definitely one of the most obscurest franchises, if not the most obscure franchise, if Death Battle were actually to use it. So you know, fingers crossed. Season 9 of Death Battle will actually do very well, and more obscure franchises will be brought into the series. And perhaps that same small spark of hope for Animal Kaiser being on this web series will be ignited. and someday it'll actually come true. Thank you all very much for watching this video. Man, this was not the easiest to make, with the finding of matchups and characters, learning the basics of what they can do, making thumbnails plus requested posters for more thumbnails, and needing a lot of assistance for this video. Plus not to mention the voice lines that I had to record, and despite having a script, I'm surprised I keep fucking up reading it all this time. But hey, it's finally done and hopefully it will come out really well. Once more, a huge thank you to Nigram and Seraphine for making a majority of the matchups in this video. Without him, this video would never even dream of existing. My boy Yasaka Alvarez for making 4 thumbnails and coming up with a few more of these matchups in the video. And lastly, the Death Battle Matchup subreddit for your assistance on more of these thumbnails. I really cannot thank all of you enough for helping me create another video that gives my beloved childhood series a time to shine in the spotlight. Oh, and if you are interested in the thumbnails I made or the Animal Kaiser image renders I erased for the thumbnails, you can head over to my DeviantArt account where they will be available for you to use, all for the cheap price of free. Though, of course, if the PNGs don't work, since I am aware that there might be some issues on DeviantArt for me, you could always just contact my Discord, right here. I will just send me a friend request and I'll gladly send you the PNGs, if of course you need them. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you again on my next video. Keep your burning spirits up and advancing to the top.